Hey everyone, it's Ray with the amazing Chey and Pav, who just hosted Mastery Chat. We are going to recap the entire hour that just happened over on Twitter with a lot of questioning. So get ready for some question marks. Really put your thinking cap on for this one, and we'll be right back here in a minute. Guys, can you believe that you just hosted an hour-long chat and then you were crazy enough to come live with me after? What's wrong with you?
I thought it was Jeff. I thought Jeff was coming.
Oh. Pav, there's no way that you would only have come live if Jeff was here. You got to be a little happy I'm here. Come on.
Absolutely not. I'm extremely happy. I'm actually glad that Jeff is not here.
Boy versus girl. For those of you that don't know, we've had this battle from the beginning, and it only is going to get better. So thank you for all of you that are throwing in some comments. Neil is already commenting like, ouch, from these horrible comments. This is not going to be good. Jeff Gargas, if you're watching this, you're not invited in here. This is going to be a party without you, my friend, without you. Hey, guys, if this is our network's first time being connected to you, can you try, and I don't know how you're going to do it because you guys literally are so incredibly busy and awesome, but can you give us a little background on what you do in education and kind of like your roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chey and I are first and foremost middle school teachers, and we teach in the Toronto area. And and we've been teaching, we have a combined teaching experience of about 35 years. And we've been doing this a long time, and we've really been able to hone our skills in the past year and a half as we have delved into this world of podcasting and just learning from the most amazing professional learning network out there. And, all of the mastery, all of the Teach Better people are really some of our closest PLN members. And so we're really, really excited that we got to finally host Mastery Chat and be part of that hour-long roller coaster. It was just nonstop thrills the entire hour. Crazy. I'm still looking at my screen just lighting up. And I don't know, I'm not going to sleep tonight. We'll be getting through that all night long. So yeah, it was fantastic. But yes, we are teachers, podcasters, radio show hosts, and we've just started a live stream because we didn't already have enough on our plate. So that's on Tuesday nights with School Rubric.
I would totally watch a live stream with you guys. I'm so glad you've elevated to that. I love that. How cool. Chey, anything that she missed out on, or is she always just, her answers are always so perfect that it's not even worth adding? You know what I mean?
That's why her screen was lighting up. That said, save me something, save me something, save me one thing to add on, please, please, please. To which she nailed perfectly. And she was even very nice to not throw me under the bus because we have an accumulated 35 years together of teaching rather than saying I've been teaching for 27. I love that about that statement. But yes, the chat tonight was great. We've done a lot of chats and we've done a lot of things, but you got a few things on your markers. You say, one day we're going to do Mastery Chat. And that's when you're like, we just hit the big time tonight. We did a Mastery Chat. We followed so many great hosts. We know Jared's going next week. So we're just jammed in the middle of all this greatness, and we were excited to bring our topic, and we were excited to listen and read and reflect. And like I said, we were just glad that we finally got to do our first Mastery Chat. So you can sign us up for mid-December too.
Done. We want you actually to host all Mastery Chats in the future. Is that okay? You'll just take them all? That sound good?
Perfect. Sounds good. I might have to move a few things around, but we got it.
Fine. I do have to say the best part is you popped on here. It was a crazy hour focused on questioning, which we're going to get into a lot of elements of the chat. So thank you those of you that are here and commenting. We are going to recap as much of the chat as humanly possible, but we're not really doing well. We joked that we should only speak in questions the entire live video, and I think we already messed that up, guys. I'm sorry.
Did we?
Did we?
If we replay the video back, we may find that you two messed it up, but I am assured the gym guy has managed to keep it together. Am I right?
There you go. Am I right? So fun. I like that Adam jumping in saying, hey, he's moderating December 10th. So don't worry, Adam. We'll let you keep that day. So fun. So guys, you hosted a chat. It was an hour. It was on fire. There was people. This is like my favorite style of chat because there was not only people sharing their answers, but people like went out and got resources and then shared them in the chat, which to me is like gold. When you can not only hear people's perspectives, but articles and resources are being shared, you know that you hit a nerve with our audience. So would one of you just like recap, like what was the topic and why did you choose that topic? And then we can get into some details.
Chey, you want to start off with this one?
That means she's not totally sure and she wants to see where I'm going to guide the conversation.
No. It's because the conversation about questioning, you were actually the first one to really start the inquiry with your class this year. I was a little bit behind you. So this was sort of where it stemmed from. You know, Chey did some really great work in his class. And it really, it triggered some stuff for us. It triggered, you know, a podcast episode. It triggered a lot of great conversations between us. And so this was sort of, as I am answering the question, Chey, I gave this to you to answer, but that's sort of where it started from. So Chey, I mean, I'm sure that people want to hear sort of a little bit more about your lesson about inquiry and a lot of the really great work that you've done in your space with your grade 8 students.
Yes, I agree. And then I'll add on. We've always been a big fan of content, and every chat has a different theme or where it wants to go. But we've known that we've always found that we get the most out of chats that are really content driven. And Ray, I think you touched on that. People were ready to share content, to share resources, to share lessons, and like I said, every theme is important. But I know Pav and I always gravitate to: are we talking about content tonight? Like things I can get an immediate takeaway from the classroom. And so vice versa, we were excited to run a chat where we were going to talk about things we felt people could really connect to, that something they had done in their class today is something they could talk about tonight, which is something they can use tomorrow. And even more so than talking about my lesson is just listening to all the people in the chat tonight, is that inquiry and exploration and curiosity just drove and drives questions, or questions drive that. And it's almost like you talk about assessment drives instruction, which it does, but questioning drives lessons, which it does, whether it's pre, during, or post. And the idea that my lesson can be as well planned as possible, and yet if there's a question that pulls me over here, I'm in a place where I'm willing to go over there. And so I think the chat really reflected that. I think of Dan Finkel. If someone asks me, if some kid comes and says 2 + 2, that could equal 7, Mr. Cheney, right? We don't dismiss it. We don't say no. We said, yes, it can. This is a great, let's explore, let's investigate this. In my math class, can pivot on, I'm sorry, I said pivot. It can shift on a dime to all of a sudden be 2 + 2. Is it 7? Why is it not 7? Is it a possibility to make it 7? And so I think generally, just vaguely, like that just came upon in all the responses, that I'm not the answer key as the teacher. Let's question and let's move when we get a question.
Well, and
something, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
No, please, Pav, keep going.
No, I was going to add to that, you know, something that that came up time and time again in the chat was the idea of, you know, the more questions we ask, the deeper the questions become within the classroom space. And so, you know, starting with those simple sort of surface level questions as it kind of came out, it leads to the deeper ones as we start to develop those inquiries and those explorations together as a class. So we thought that was really great. And it was really nice to see that start to happen in our classrooms. You know, we started with those very simple questions that just pop into our heads right away, and students become a little bit more comfortable with asking those types of simple questions. And then, you know, slowly over time, the questions just start to expand in their depth, and they start to ask things that are definitely, you know, deeper questions, those iceberg questions. It was Kate that actually used that analogy in the chat, to say that, you know, the deeper questions are really the bulk of that iceberg under the water, and those are not really the questions that we can really see on the surface, but they're the ones that really bring the meat into the inquiry and the exploration that we have in our spaces.
Yeah, and I thought this was such an important topic because as we always are exploring questioning and improving our questioning in the classroom and the exploration opportunities that we can offer our students, I know for me specifically as a 6th grade math teacher, I have shifted all of my evaluation of if a student understands something purely by asking them questions and having conversations and exploring the material with them. We're no longer even like requiring necessarily like any sort of formal assessment like my district would normally require. Everything has shifted to conversations, asking questions. One of my favorite things that has sprouted from this is actually seeing student to student conversations, checking each other's understanding, and me getting to actually, as the teacher, kind of sit back and watch them facilitate questioning within each other, which I don't think I've ever seen as well as I'm seeing it during these very, very strange times of COVID. So I loved this chat because it gave me ideas of how I can bring these questions to students. So I just want to thank you guys for that, because I think that's what really like struck a nerve in this chat. So if you guys—
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you guys were thinking about like a question that you asked, because you asked a bunch, was there one that you were most excited to ask, or one that you thought would maybe cause some deeper discussion that you were eager to see?
Are you giving it to me, Pav? Are you giving it to me?
I really liked, I was,
no, you're not.
No, I'm not. I really enjoyed the question, where, you know, we wanted to know, you know, what are some of the reasons why students are afraid, or why do students sometimes hesitate? And fear came out as one of the answers. You know, fear of not, you know, appearing that their questions were good enough. And actually, one of the answers that I read was students might be afraid that their questions are irrelevant to the topic, and they're afraid of their questions being irrelevant. And I really like that answer, because sometimes as an adult, I feel like my questions are going to be irrelevant to whatever topic we have, but it's something that I'm curious about. It's something that I'm wondering, and it may not be completely related, but we never know where that question is going to take us in the future, you know, and it might be a complete tangent, but if we're learning something at the end of it, then I don't know how irrelevant it is. So I think a lot of students, they hesitate asking questions because they think that their question doesn't actually have anything to do with the topic, and they might be afraid of being seen as, oh, you misunderstood what we were talking about. But I think that every question is valid, and that definitely came out with the answers in the chat, where, you know, it may not be just solely the fear that the kids have of being, you know, making it look like a stupid question. It might also be, you know, students might just be afraid that the question that they have isn't really about the topic that's being discussed.
Chey, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm just going to wait for Pav to text me a really good answer, and then I'm going to read it like this. One of the places I wanted to get to, or I was hopeful to get to, regardless of what question came out, was always this, the conversation of relationships, because you want to have a good relationship to build that safe space. But I've always been the fan of, or sort of the slight pushback on, as a teacher, I don't get to just do get to know you activities for 8 months to build a relationship. Actually, I always think the best way I build a relationship for my students to demonstrate my advocacy, my allyship, for how serious I take my profession is to build really rich learning opportunities. And part of really rich learning is questioning. And so when we talk about that ascension of the style of question we're going to have, well, I want to establish in the first week of school that I love questions. I'm going to propel questions. So there was a lot of relationship talk and positive relationships, which are so key. But so often we think we get this first and then we move to the great learning, or we get to a certain place in our learning. And I always think, I, as a teacher in my community, have always felt the best way I can demonstrate for my students what type of relationship I want to build with them is to how seriously I take my teaching. And so when I commit myself to creating as great a lesson as I can, which cements the inquiry, the exploration, and the questioning, then that's relationship building. Can you ask the really tough question day one? I guess probably not, but we want to ascend to it. And I want to establish in my room that I'm going to have a space of questioning and exploration and inquiry. So a lot of that positive relationships came up, and a lot of that relationships came up. And I, as a teacher, always think I actually build the best relationships with my students by demonstrating through the lessons I create and the classroom I set up how much of an advocate I want to be for them, how much of allyship I want to build for them. And as Ray, you guys were talking about, like how much of a space can I create where my students can be advocates for each other, allies for each other, have great dialogue with each other about asking questions, etc. It's not enough for me as a teacher to set up great questions. It builds itself and manifests when my students start to be able to ask great questions with each other, great dialogue with each other. That is then when you talk about assessment, like how do I assess this? Well, I assess it, or I get my diagnostic when I see my students are able to advocate for each other, to question maybe me on their behalf, not because that person's asked them to, but they see where there might be a reason that I need to be questioned. Pav, I see you doing this, and then this, and then this, and then I saw cut.
I just wanted you to remember that you have to breathe in between your speaking. I just wanted to remind you that.
I love it. Don't breathe.
So you have to. No, you have to. He's gonna pass out. He needs to breathe. So
they don't call it the hurricane for nothing.
No, what I actually wanted to add was it's part of that trust building, right? Like students have to trust that you're there for them on an academic level and not just as a friend, or someone who is going to be cool enough for you for them to put in their TikTok videos or whatever, right? So they have to actually be able to see the trust between the two of you. And that trust actually comes from, yes, my teacher is not only there for me as someone who cares about me, but is also going to be there for me for my educational learning, and is also going to continue to push me. And is that questioning is really, it's the starting place. When your teacher can see, when students can see that their teachers are there and they're asking these great questions, these rich questions, these deep questions that are meaningful to the students, then they start to build that trust with the teacher, and they know, oh yeah, this teacher's got it. This teacher is looking out for me and how well I do in school. And therefore that safe space begins to be created where it's okay to ask whatever question you want to ask, because we got each other. So as he said, as Chey said, we're going to be advocates for each other. We're going to be each other's allies in this entire process.
I have to say, you guys are really hitting a nerve that I had not really thought through. I find myself on live videos. It's always so fun to facilitate conversation, but sometimes it always happens when I talk to Lindsay Titus, but it's happening right now too, where I'm like so sucked into listening to you that I'm like, oh wait, we're live. I have more questions. Hold on. Because this is like, you're completely accurate. I get asked all the time, like, how do you have such strong relationships with the students? Like, you really, really know your students. You know them so well. What icebreakers do you do? What relationship building do you do? And truly, up until maybe this moment, although that's embarrassing to admit, I was always like, I don't know. We try and build relationships. But Chey, I think it's because, and Pav, it's because we are starting with questioning so quickly, so early on in the classroom, that it's just our nature to constantly talk, communicate, question, have these aha opportunities and explore. And I think there's so much rich relationship building you can do in that space. I'm like so blown away. I love this perspective. And I think if every educator continued to focus on that, like, isn't that such a beautiful way to foster the not only like relationships you have, but also the type of learning experience that you're going to give students throughout the year. So I don't know what you think of that, but I'm so impressed. That's so incredible.
It is one of those things that we sort of arrived at. It was something that we were always doing, but we began hearing that connections before curriculum, and I think that Chey and I always agreed that it was connections through curriculum. Those two things don't have to be separate; they can be together, and so we can be teaching while we are building those relationships at the same time. And we actually have found that it's through the content that we're delivering in the class, through the content that we're exploring together as a class, where we really build and cement those real relationships with our students, that real trust between us. And I think that it makes everybody better, and even us, because we see what our students are capable of. And that just propels us to want to give them more and be better for them, and bring even more rich tasks into our classroom communities, because we see that they want it and they can handle it and they thrive on it. And so we really liked putting those two things together, rather than compartmentalizing the relationships on one side and then the curriculum or the content that we have in our classrooms on the other side.
So let me ask you this. If you had all these people listening right now, they love the chat. They're going to go back and reread all the comments in case they missed it or came in halfway through, but they wanted to have a specific takeaway. What would be the biggest takeaway you hope that a participant or an educator could take away from this discussion? I don't know if you guys have different responses, or maybe you both had the same goal of what you wanted people to walk away with.
I'll go first, Pav.
Okay, go.
Doubling back, Ray, thank you so much for that very humbling compliment. And I'll go back and rewatch this on replay at least 17 times just on that portion alone. Yeah. Maybe I'll make it our entry card for next week. One takeaway I would probably say, and it's sort of been, I wouldn't even say it's a takeaway, or maybe it's a mindset, is that when the learning's done, it's not done. I should actually have more questions leaving. So if I've had a great learning scenario, a great learning situation, I haven't finished it. It's not over. It's a gateway to even more. So if I wanted to say what's sort of the great takeaway, is more than a resource takeaway, it's sort of a mindset takeaway, is that when I finished a great lesson, my diagnostic, my exit ticket isn't so much that the kids can tell me how to make an algebraic expression. It's that they can come up with 17 different questions on why maybe this algebraic expression could be done a different way. And so when the learning is done, or when the activity is done, I want you to have more questions than when the learning started. And then that would be my mindset. Then I've really had a really rich task.
So do you think this chat had the same premise, where you want them to walk away with more questions than answers?
I think so, because at the end of it, we had this great opportunity to share so many different resources. And so I think that people are really walking away with, how can I use that in my classroom, or what can I do now to change what I'm doing with my practice? Not that there was anything wrong with your practice in the first place, but there's always opportunity for growth. And so it's, using all of this to now say, what else can I be doing in my classroom space to really enrich the questioning that's happening? And so that I definitely, I agree with Chey. I was thinking also in regards to people agreeing, so many people were agreeing that great questioning has to be modeled in the classroom. You can't just say, okay, guys, ask questions and expect some really great questions. We really have to model those different types of questions in our classroom spaces. And so, that was a theme that I saw come up quite a bit from a lot of people. And so I really wanted to highlight that as well. A lot of us agree that as teachers, we really need to be modeling great questioning skills.
Two amazing takeaways. I know I say this to you guys all the time, and I don't mean to be lame, but like, I just need more of you in my life. You guys are so passionate and bright, and I'm just such a fan of the work you do. Even just, I mean, Mastery Chat, this conversation, I just so appreciate you guys. And I know that everybody listening, whether they're streaming this on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, they all are just going to want more of you. So would you mind giving us some detail on where they can continue to get the love and support from Chey and Pav?
Absolutely. On Friday evenings, we release our new Staff Room Podcast episode. And so you can find us on Twitter at Staff Podcast and listen to our podcast, the Staff Room Podcast, everywhere where podcasts are found. So that's the Staff Room. The Drive is our radio show that we broadcast live on VoiceEd Radio on Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. A great way for you to unwind and get ready for the work week. It's a little bit of educational talk that's very casual. There's usually wine involved and oftentimes chocolate. And we play lots of great music. So it's a fantastic evening, and there's lots of fun. There's lots of Twitter conversation happening at the same time. So join us for the Drive on Sunday nights. Chey, you want to get the other things?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I don't even know what my Twitter handle is unless you tell people.
It's on the screen.
Don't. I was going to add on, we've been got our own StreamYard with school rubric called Office Hours, which is us, Tracy Browder, and Samantha Fekich. I hope I pronounced that correct. Yep. If I didn't, please correct me. And so this is sort of our new project with School Rubric. So we're really excited about that because we're teachers, and recording 4 times a week and going live once a week just wasn't enough. So they said, what else can we do? And besides, Adam's doing Mastery Chat December 10th, so we had some free time. Yeah. So we're really excited about all those opportunities and all those things we're doing. And why do we do it? Ultimately, we have a lot of fun doing it. We get stressed doing it. I'm sure you feel the same, but when you finish it, then you go back to your class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're teaching so fired up, and you've picked up so many great ideas, and you saw a tweet about this, or you listen to a podcast about that, or Pav and I want to talk about this on Friday. It really drives us forward. And so we'd probably argue, as much as we're doing all these things, in the long run, our teaching has grown so much in the last year that we might as well add a 6th and 7th recording.
I think it's great. Yeah. We're just going to keep pushing you to do more. I think you need to do twice as more. That could be a good goal for 2021.
I was going to say, Ray, our Monday nights are free if you want to start something.
Monday nights are the only night we record Teach Better Talk podcast. Maybe you should be my new host.
There you go.
I've been looking for a new host. Did you see what happened on today's episode? I'm so embarrassed. I need a new host and a new podcast editor. I fired both of them.
Pav's been looking for a new host for quite some time.
That's right. This will work out beautifully.
Everyone comes for Pav. You can replace Chey with, Jeff Gargis, Tim Cavey, Stephen Hurley. It just doesn't matter. Like, Pav is irreplaceable. Chey's just a gym guy on the side. He can just in and out with anybody.
You know what? As long as you know your place, I think it's fine. It's no big deal.
I'll question it later.
All right. I do also want to mention that our amazing friend, Jennifer Apple, is publishing her brand new children's book tomorrow. And I just want to give her a little shout out. We also gave her a shout out during the chat that we're just so excited that Jennifer Apple is just continuing to enrich our students' lives by offering such easy children's books that are so chock full of incredible morals and really good discussion. We talked a lot about questioning during this Mastery Chat, and personally, especially after reading her first book, and this is the second children's book she's published, I really feel like this book is a beautiful starting point to foster questions, to foster reflection with our kiddos. So if you are somebody who wants to continue to dive into the amazing things happening at award-winning culture with Hans and Jennifer Apple, definitely go check out Jen's new book. It's available for pre-order right now, but you can actually grab the official copy tomorrow. And so we're so excited for her to have book number 2 out, available to everyone. So shout out to her. We love you so much, Jen. We're so proud of you, and Keep it up. We're just so excited to see all the amazing things you do to support students with SEL. So incredible. I do just wanted to point out that Jeff is saying Team Pav. So Chey, I feel bad for you, buddy. Like, I thought he was going to go with you because he obviously missed the beginning when you went Team Pav, but this is documented, so we're good. Fine.
It's not the first time. It's not the first time. So I'm used to it now.
So fun. Well, we are going to say goodnight to everyone here. Chey and Pav, truly, and I said this before, and this will be a good thing that you can replay before you go to bed, Chey, but I am such a fan of the work you're doing. I love listening to you guys. I love listening to you discuss education, but also just discuss life and the incredible world that we're living in. And I just really hope that everybody continues to connect with your content because you're doing such great things. And I'm so honored that you hosted Master Chat. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Ray. The pleasure really is ours. We've been waiting for a long time to squeeze our way into Mastery Chat, and so we're very excited. And I also wanted to throw out there that the Staff Room podcast is now also featured on the Teach Better podcast network. So hopefully everybody can check us out there as well. We are so humbled and thrilled to be part of the team.
Yes. And with that, we will see you guys later.